Welcome back to the C tutorial series. I'm so glad you're here. Today we will learn about functions, so let's get started. I created a file called main.c, and in this file we're gonna create some functions. So instead of filling the main function with a bunch of code, you can create a function that makes the main function cleaner. But before I get started, I'm going to put this code inside the main function. Right now it's simple and it just says happy birthday and it says however old the person is. And this works inside the main function. When I run this outputs happy birthday you are 15 and happy birthday you are 18. But I could put this in a function called happy birthday. So I'm going to say void, because it's not gonna return anything, it's just gonna print a function. Then I'm gonna title the function happy birthday, and it's gonna take in one parameter, which will be the age. And it's gonna take this in as an integer. And then I want to print happy birthday you are, and then whatever the age the user passes in. So here is my function, and it doesn't return anything because it's a void function. If I run this now, it will output the same exact thing because I just declared this function. I didn't call it yet. In order to call it, you need to call it from somewhere else, in this case, the main function. And I'm gonna call it in this main function and say happy birthday. Then it takes an age. So I'll input an age 15 like before and then 18. And let's run this again. And it says happy birthday. And I forgot you there. So you can actually see it's different because we don't have you in the function. And this is actually a great example. Instead of having to change it multiple times in the main function, you can change it just one time in the function you created. So I just had to change it once up there, and now when I call it, it will be fixed. So that's the benefit of functions. If you have an error in your program, you just need to edit the function, and then everything else that depends on that function will work again. It's a lot better for errors. One thing to note is that if I put the function below the main function, it doesn't know what happy birthday is because it reads from top to bottom. So it's gonna say happy birthday. I don't know what that is, and it's gonna output an error. And it says implicit declaration of function happy birthday is invalid. But if we wanted to put this below the main function, we could, and just above it, make sure to declare it, and you can just do the function and the parameters up top. And now if we run it again, it should work and output a proper result like before, and it does. There's also different types of functions. For example, if we wanted to cube a number, I'm gonna want to return the number as any number, so let's put float. And then I'm gonna create the function cube, and it's gonna take in one parameter, which is number, and then I'll just say result equals number times number times number. And in this case, I want to get result, which is a float. In order to do this, I need to return it. So I'll return result. Then at the top of the file, I'll make sure to declare this before the main function. And now we can use this in the main function. And I'll just say cube 5. And when I cube 5 and run this, you might be saying, why is nothing happening? Well, I didn't store the output anywhere. So let's create a variable here, float cubed, and I'll set this equal to the output of the function. Then I want to print what cubed is, so I'll say printf, and then I'll say what the number is, and I'll round it, and then I'll just say cubed, because that's what we're passing in. Now, when I run this, this outputs 125, because 5 cubed is 125. I can also pass in variables as parameters. For example, float val equals 5, then I can pass val in here. Since we know what the number is, I can say val cubed is whatever the number is. Now I'll run this, and I get 5 cubed is 125 in the output. So now we know the different types of functions. So you may be wondering, why is the main function returning something? Well, return 0 means success, and any other number means failure. So if it works properly, it's going to return success. Another important thing to note is that you cannot access variables inside of functions outside of it. For example, happy birthday takes an age. But if we wanted to print the age in the main function, we cannot, because the variable is just within the happy birthday function. And we get an error message here saying that age is undefined. And when we run it, we get this same thing because it doesn't know what age is outside of the happy birthday function. Now we know how to use functions, but you may be wondering, hey, if I have a lot of functions, this file could get very crowded very quickly. Well, let's remove these functions and put them into a header file. So I'm just going to paste the code here. Now it's in a file called functions.h. So remember at the beginning where we had an include statement? Well, we'll include the functions.h file here. And this time, because it's a file on a machine, we're going to put it in quotes. And I'm going to say pound include functions.h. And in the header file, we also need to include standard input and output.h for print function to work. And since we included standard input output.h in the header file, we don't need to include it here, because when we import functions.h, it will also import standard input output.h, since that is within functions.h. So now if I run this, it works like before. Just a really good way to break up files so your main file isn't cluttered. Now that we know what functions are, we now see that printf is actually a function, and it's imported from the standard input-output module. And that's an introduction to functions in C. Next, we will introduce pointers in our C programs. Make sure to follow along with this series by subscribing and hitting the notification bell, or by clicking on the next video so that you can expand your knowledge about C. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time!